हेलो एंड नमस्कार, मैं अनुदीवान। स्वागत है आपका लाइव इंटरैक्शन स्पेशल सेशन सहयोग में, अ सेशन for psychological support and mental well-being for children. In this session, we are going to talk about understanding and handling conflicting situations. But what are these conflicting called? Are these mental conflicts or physical conflicts? To understand this, we have our special guest. Let me please welcome him, Professor C.G. Venkatesh Murthy from RIE Mysuru. Hello sir, a very good evening.
Good evening, namaskar, namaskar.
And also we have a practicing counselor, Mr. K. Ganesh Murthy. Hello sir, a very good evening.
Hello, good evening. Namaskar to all the viewers also.
Before we begin the session, if you have any query, you can call us on 8800 or you can also mail us on the email ID mentioned below, that is Sahyog, SAHYOG @ciet.nic.in. So you are watching this on PM eVidya channel number 6 to 12 and also live on ncertofficial YouTube. So the topic for today is understanding and handling conflicting situation. First of all, Professor C.G. Venkatesh sir, I want to come to you. We are talking about this topic, that understanding and handling conflicting situation. Sir, my question is, what are actually the conflicts here we are talking about, and how can you explain them by giving us an example?
Yeah, good, thank you. See, now here in this entire discussion, when we are talking of conflicts, we are not talking of physical conflicts, we are talking of mental conflicts. The confusion that we'll have. In fact, conflicts are a part of our everyday life. All of us experience conflicts, no matter how small, how big we are. All of us will have conflicts. Now, in simple terms, a conflict is a clash of equally strong issues on which we have to choose one. So, whenever we have two issues which are equally strong, of which we have to take one, not the other at the same time, there is no escape. That is a situation where we say we are in a conflict. Once we take a decision about these two, that okay, I will take number one, then there is no conflict. Conflict is resolved. This may take 1 second, it may take 5 minutes, it may take half an hour, it may take sometimes 1 day, 2 days. Conflict can prolong. Now, you ask me, what are the examples of conflicting situations? As I told you, we have a number of situations day in and day out where we have several conflicting situations. Say, for example, if you see the slide, you will see whether to wear a jacket or a sweater today, depending upon the weather, whether to do homework before going to games or after coming from games. बच्चों में ये होता है ना, games के पहले मैं जाके करूँ या बाद में करूँ homework? Should I eat or not eat before going to sports? Should I meet my friend today or tomorrow? Should I study maths first or science first? Even these things can be a conflicting situation.
Sir, but what are conflicting situations and how can we analyze them?
That's right. Yeah. See, now, when we face these situations, it is important for us to understand how we handle them. Normally, when a student sees a certain conflicting situation, what he should normally, an intelligent person does is, he has to look into different advantages and disadvantages of doing one over the other, count how many advantages have, how many disadvantages, how intense are the advantages, how intense are the disadvantages, I have to count, and then I should be able to take a decision. There are many occasions where we don't do this and we take an emotional decision. Whenever we take a decision when we are emotional, one doesn't know whether it is going to be right or wrong, and many a times we may go wrong also. That is why it is said, even घरों में बोला जाता है, दादियाँ नानियाँ बताती है कि जब डिस्टर्ब हो जाते हो डिसीजन मत लेना. When you are emotionally upset, don't take decision because you will lose your reasoning and you are more likely to make a mistake. इसीलिए गुस्से में कोई निर्णय नहीं करना चाहिए. Don't do that, is what this. So, our decisions about any conflicting situation should not be emotional, it should be rational. इसीलिए what we have to do is we should be able to analyze a conflicting situation. Now, what do we mean by analysis or analyzing a conflicting situation? Can a small child also analyze? Yes, there are ways we have to teach our children to analyze. What is this? Analysis is a process of separating all possible elements of an issue one by one. Separate layers में brick by brick हमें देखना है. We should be able to read them. We should be able to understand all the components surrounding an issue. Okay. So when we analyze any issue objectively, then we are more likely to be successful than when we analyze them subjectively or emotionally. And we should not emotionally get into resolving any conflict. To the extent possible, we should be doing it objectively. लेकिन लाइफ ऐसे थोड़ी होता है, बहुत सारे हम इमोशनल डिसीजंस ले लेते हैं, कभी कभी गलत हो सकता है, कभी सही हो सकता है, लेकिन what should be our practice and habit? As a matter of habit, we should learn to be objective in understanding the situations, see everything threadbare, brick by brick, the situations, analyze, and then see if it is going to be useful for you, you accept it, and you should not accept it if it is not going to be useful. So this is what is the analysis of a conflicting situation. So if we develop the ability to analyze any conflicting issue objectively, we are more likely to succeed in life. Intelligent people, progressive people, they all use their analytical abilities to understand conflicting situations. They don't take decisions emotionally. This is something very important. Therefore, it is very important for all of us to understand that conflicts are a part of our everyday life. We should accept it. And they may vary from 1 second to 1 day, as I said. But it is also important to realize that conflicts have to be analyzed and handled objectively. Emotionally, हमें इन चीजों को handle नहीं करना चाहिए. This is where successful people differ from others. All of us are not alike. All of us are not equally successful. If at all we are to be successful, we should be rational than being emotional. This is at this stage, I want to conclude saying, let us learn to understand the meaning of these conflicts. How do we, then we will expand as we go to the subsequent sections, how to understand the different kinds of conflicting situations, how to handle them, and what are the role of different stakeholders. We'll discuss all of them.
Definitely, sir. Conflicts are part of our everyday life. We have to handle them objectively but not emotionally. Definitely, sir. We think that students will hear this and keep that in their daily part life. Now, I would like to come to Ganesh, sir. Sir told us that what are conflicts and how can we analyze them. But are there different types of conflicts? Can you please explain them with examples?
Sure, certainly. So as Sahyog has mentioned, and also we all know that every
Please
day
move to the next slide.
Every day we get into the conflict situation. Not only the children, even we see the grown-ups and also adults, everybody has a different kind of a conflicts which they come across. So there are majorly three types of conflicts which we come across. That is approach conflict, avoidance conflict, avoidance conflict. So let's see that what are those three in these simple terms. Next slide, please. Yeah, if you see the approach, the word itself looks something like an attractive. So I am getting approached to something. So it is, this conflict talks about where there are two equal attractive issues. There is a clash. The student has a clash between two attractive situations, but he is supposed to choose one to go ahead. So what are those? Let's see the two examples. Two equally attractive dresses, of which only one can be bought. So he has to buy one dress and he sees two. So there he come across as a conflict. And the other thing is, in the schools we usually see that the children are supposed to choose one of the game among the available options. So there again, two equal attractive games he is interested in, but he has to choose only one. And the other one is he has to visit for some trips. So there are two equal attractive places to visit, but he can only choose one. And also the two attractive relatives he wants to visit, but only he can visit one at a time. You see here, in all these examples, he is being attracted to both these issues. So considering this as an issue, he wants to approach to both, but he has to choose only one option. So that is where it is very important to know how and where he has to choose one among the two equal attractive issues. So that is why if you see the picture, it shows that the student is being pulled towards the both attractive environments. Among that, he has to choose one. So that's the one which talks about approach conflict. Next slide, please.
Yes.
So next, here we see that avoidance conflict. That means the child or anybody is trying to keep themselves away from it. So this conflict is where two equal unattractive issues clash, of which one has to be chosen. Only one has to be chosen. Just like in approach, there are two attractive. Here there are two unattractive situations among which he has to choose one. Let's see the examples. Two equally unattractive guests to attend. So the child is not interested to go to either of their house, but he has to go along with his parents. And another two equally unattractive assignments. The teacher would have given some assignments. He is not interested, he is not attracted towards that assignment, but he has to choose one and do. Also, he has a kind of an option to choose from two unattractive gifts. There is no other go. He has to go with one option and two unattractive places of the trip. But when the whole gang, teachers and the whole classmates are going, he has to choose one and go. So these are he's trying to avoid. But there are instances, both the situations are avoiding situations for him, but there is no escape. As sir has mentioned, he has to choose one. So that is what this avoidance conflict talks about. Next slide, please. So this is something which is interesting. Approach avoidance conflict. If you see, there is one side, he has something which is being attracted to, and at the same time, there is something which is an unattractive situation also. So that is where it's a conflict where you want to approach as well as avoid equally on same issue. Example, when a teacher calls a student to come and write something on the board, the gene in the student feels very happy to go and write. But at the same time, he comes across a conflict that what happens if my friends in the classroom tease me? Maybe because of his handwriting or because of his various different body languages. So he has a conflict arising about approach avoidance conflict. And another thing is, when certain times, when if you see the teenagers, when the children are getting into the age of adolescence, they have an affinity to get addicted to social substance abuse. So when friends attempt to introduce to smoking, so he wants to have that gang of friends with him. So should I get into that habit with them to maintain the relationship, or knowing that smoking is a bad habit which causes harm to the health, should I keep myself away? So there are again the conflict approaches here. There is one as an approaching and one as an avoidance. And if you see the third example, where you see many students cheating in examination hall, which we normally face it. Again, in this situation, what so happens is, sometimes when somebody is doing that, I feel that if the child feels that, okay, let me also do, so that I will improve my score. I may be getting 70%, maybe by doing this, I can get into 80-90%. But at the same time, by knowing the consequences, this is not ethical, there may be some different acts, I may be caught. So knowing that reality, that is something which is he's trying to get avoided from this issue. So that is the conflicts which they come across, approach and avoidance conflict. Next slide.
Definitely, sir, you have given us examples that are relating to our everyday life. So the concept of conflict is related to the everyday life only. Sir, now Venkateshwar sir, I would come to you. Sir has explained that there are 3 types of conflicts, but what are the ways or means in which we can handle those conflicts?
Yeah. If you recall what I said, we have to analyze the situation. Normally, an intelligent person will look into the advantages and disadvantages, what I said, isn't it? Let us keep the same thing in mind. It's a very simple situation that we are elaborating today. I'm sure children who are watching us will be able to understand and appreciate how beautifully we have to understand this technical issue also, so that we can handle our own conflicts comfortably. Now you ask me what are the ways and means of handling different conflicts. Let us take concrete examples. Now here, what we do, I said, conflicts are clash of equally strong issues or motives, we say in technical terms, but here let us say issues. Now let us see approach conflicts. When we have approach conflicts, how do we do? What happens here? It is a clash of 2 equally attractive issues. When 2 things which are of equal strength clash out of which we have to take a decision, we have approach conflict. Now, how do we handle this? Now, the clash is between, let us say, purchase of a jacket versus purchase of a sweater. मेरे पास कुछ पैसा है, इसमें either एक jacket आ सकता है या एक sweater आ सकता है. What kind of decision? How do I do that? How do I analyze? Now I should look into the advantages and disadvantages. मेरा जो situation है, my weather conditions for that, how many days I can wear jacket against how many days I can wear sweater? Which one is better for me? Is a jacket something where I can turn it inside out and then wear it for longer days? Is it true of my sweater also? Do I require sweater for more days or jacket for more days? What kind of a weather condition that governs my environment? I should be able to analyze this. So I should analyze the advantages and disadvantages of buying a jacket. I should also have a list of advantages and disadvantages of buying a sweater. I should make a mental calculation of all these things. Then I should be able to say, where can I enjoy more? Is it with a jacket or a sweater? So I have to select a dress which has more advantages and less disadvantages. Likewise, we can take the second one, avoidance one. As we said, here it is a clash of two equally unattractive issues. When two unattractive things clash, which are of equal strength, and we have to take one, then we'll be in this conflict. The moment we take a decision that no, I will do this, ये दोनों दो जहर है मान के चलिए, एक जहर या दो पीने का पिया हुआ है, there are two things where I have to drink this or that. बच्चे नॉर्मली दूध नहीं पीना चाहते हैं, कुछ बच्चे चाय नहीं पीना चाहते हैं. Now, if I don't like both of them, which one I have to avoid is something that we are talking about. Now, again, using the same technique, you have to analyze where you will have more pain compared to the other. If choosing one is less punishable for me, less avoidable for me, then I would like to choose that instead of one where I have more disadvantage. Likewise, when we come to the next slide, this is approach avoidance conflict. One of the best examples for adults that I can give you, I mean the teachers and parents can also enjoy it. If there is a diabetic and if somebody is given a sweets, जब आप जाते हैं किसी के घर में वो मीठा रख लेते हैं आपके सामने, you want to eat but at the same time you do not want to eat because you are scared of the consequences. This is the best example for approach avoidance conflict among adults. So when you see many students, the example Mr. Ganesh Murthy took, let us take that. When you see many students sitting in the examination hall, you may feel tempted to join them. But at the same time, you may also be scared of the consequences of copying and getting caught. So now you have to analyze the intensity of the advantages and disadvantages. If what happens if I am being caught and then pura mera a maan nikal jayega, people will, and teachers will start branding me and then I will lose my name and fame and then it's a shame. That is where you have to take a decision. We take a decision. Most of us do not do wrong things. It's because of that. Because our upbringing is so very strong. We are so conscientious basically. We do not want to do it. And if we are trained that way, we will not suffer these temptations. Temptation किसके अंदर आता है? जो कमजोर होता है उसके अंदर ज्यादा temptation. If our upbringing is strong and if our personality makeup is very strong, then we are less likely to be vulnerable for these kinds of conflicts. So, approach avoidance conflict also will have to be handled using this method. Okay?
Definitely, sir. Up till now, I would like to conclude that up till now we have understood that what are conflicts, what are the different types of conflicts and what are the ways in which we can handle. But Ganesh sir, one question for you, that what are the specific roles that a school counselor, teachers and parents can play in resolving these conflict resolutions? Can you please brief about these? What steps or what they can do?
Right, sure. It's very important. See, as students are majorly exposed to the school environment and the home environment. So we have different major, the grown-up roles like teachers, counselors, and the parents at the home are the persons who can guide them from the young age so that they are matured enough to handle the conflicts as they grow upon. So usually if you see not only the students, or children's, in fact, every one of us will face internal conflicts. Take it for example of an adult, like similar to what Sir has mentioned. Do I, if I like both coffee and tea, so I may say that in the morning, whether should I take a coffee or tea. So like this, everybody, we all face any kind of a conflicts. So what does it happens? That it holds conflicting and inconsistent thoughts. We have different beliefs and attitudes. Like one side, we want to do something, but another part of us will be saying, no, no way, we don't need to go that way. So let's see what all these three roles, the significant roles, in enabling children to come out of handling the conflicting situation. Especially if you see the school counselor's role, have something like a talk. There is something called class talks. So have a class talk to the students, all the students of the particular class, or the students who have come to approach to the counselor with regard to the conflicting behavioral problem. So have a class talk about the conflicts which all of us have every day, and make them to say that what is the ways to resolve them. So this will kind of enlighten them, and they will learn in their day-to-day life. Also help students recognize and manage conflicts. So it is also develops their emotional intelligence. So when I know, as part of the counselor being guided me, so it helps me before I get into that conflict, I am able to manage my emotions. Should I weep out, should I cry out, or what it is. And also it would help them accordingly to handle that situation. So that's where the emotional intelligence also gets developed. Help students get to the root of the internal conflict and find inner peace of mind. So this is also a role of the school counselor. So make the students or the children understand the root, where exactly the arisal of this conflict coming up. And it may help them to take the peace of mind by guidance. Assist to develop healthy, functional, and positive coping mechanisms. So when you develop this kind of a mechanisms, it helps the child to identify the conflict, and also he will have the impact and the consequences of that, and also he will be able to come up with the resolution strategies. Okay, and also it's a role of the counselor to make them choose any of the one option of the conflict which is from the long-term perspective, which is beneficial from the long-term perspective. Make them understand the pros and cons of the decision they are taking, saying that if you take these options, this will be the consequences, and if you take this option, this will be the consequences. When in the real life, when they face that, they are matured enough, they know how the pros and cons will be, and accordingly they will take the decision. Also making them figuring out number one priority among these two conflicts, which would be the number one for you from the long-term perspective. These are the certain roles of counselor. When you see the school teacher, they are not much different. If you see the environment of a school counselor and the teacher, he is in the school setup. Okay, they are most the same environment, but as a teacher will be more in the classroom situation. School teacher should will look into there. So the school teacher should help the students to identify the self-conflicting situations, behavior, and support them to cope with them. So in the classroom environment, what kind of situations can come in, what kind of conflicts, like as we saw an example of calling the student to the board. So those kind of situations which are well aware, which can be seen by many students, the teacher can guide accordingly. And also making student to understand that internal conflict is normal and guiding them to handle it. So every of us will be facing it. So not only the teacher, not only me, not only sir, we all as a human beings, we all face the conflicts. So this is where the teacher also should help them. And they can train the students to resolve conflicts through brainstorming, having some brainstorming sessions and group discussions. So bringing awareness in them about what kind of a conflicts can come across. So that would be the role of school teachers. Now, coming to here, the parents. If you see after the school time, the major time is with the house. So all parents again are not alike. They are not educated alike. They are not intelligent alike. So parents who are educated can handle the conflicts and can guide their children. But what about the people who are not much educated, who are not much aware about these kind of psychological situations which the child would be going through? So they can take the support of the school counselors and teachers. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here, first of all, bringing up the children in a disciplined way, in a systematic way, is one way which we are already giving them a choice to come across and resolve certain conflicts. So children will be able to predict the situation of conflict and handle appropriately. Children should have comfortable access to the parents. That means when I have a problem and I have a conflict as a child, my parent should be approachable to me. I should not fear in approaching and discussing about my conflict. And also the parent should spend quality time with family. So once they spend a quality time with the child, what happens psychologically, they feel confident. The children will feel confident and they develop the ways of resolution of the conflicts. A nice family environment and behavior will also enable the child to grow well and develop independent behavior. As children grow, as they progress and become independent, slowly what the parents have to do is they have to withdraw themselves from those conflicting situations so that the children is able to handle by himself and he is able to face the reality. So these are the roles of the parents and the teacher and the counselors.
So definitely in this session we learned that what is conflict. The conflict is a day-to-day, is a time-to-time situation which can be handled very objectively but not emotionally. This guidance is all for the students, teachers and counselors and even parents also. So parents, if you have any query or you want to ask any question to our expert, you can mail us your questions on our email ID that is been flashed on the screen. And I would like to thank you to Murthy sir and also the Ganesh sir for this session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next slide,
We enjoyed doing this.
Right. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you, students. We are concluding this session here. Thank you so much for watching us our session. Thank you so much.